Tonight on the Local Live, the Mamaroneck Playhouse is giving a new lease on life. The Save the Sound lawsuit has been settled. A pocket park pops up in Larchmont. Are you and your loved ones prepared? A local funeral director discusses end-of-life planning. This and more coming up. Our own Maura Carlin sits down with Jennifer Graziano, a funeral director at Cox & Graziano, to discuss end-of-life preparation.
It's one of two things said to be inevitable, and it's not: taxes. At some point, everyone dies, yet no one wants to talk about it. My guest today tells us why we must discuss it and plan. Jen Graziano, co-owner of Cox & Graziano Funeral Home and host of Time to Talk with Jen Graziano on WVOX and WGCH. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to get right into it. Why do we need to plan?
Like anything else in life, Maura, when there's a plan in place, there will be a better outcome. No one wants to think about the end, but myself, you, and everyone else will succumb to it. So having a plan in place gives peace of mind for yourself and your family. It's knowing that your wishes are communicated. It's knowing that your family will be able to handle their grief without the additional burden of tough decisions in short windows of time.
Well, that makes sense. So people say you need to have your papers in order and make your decisions. What does that really mean?
Well, once again, no one wants to think about a worst case scenario. And I always tell everybody, make your plans and go on and live your life. So we'll start there. But if something were to happen to you, where is your will? Do your loved ones know that? If you get sick and go to a hospital, do you have an advance directive or a healthcare proxy? Do your children know if you want to be kept alive by artificial means? Do your children know if you should pass, if you want to be buried or cremated? These are not things that anyone would ever assume. And keep in mind, if the crisis is already set in, everyone is distraught and sad. You can't think clearly.
Does everyone need a will even if you don't have a lot of money?
I don't know if the will, certainly in cases of assets and financial planning, yes, a will is an important vehicle. And speaking as an attorney, I will tell you everyone should have one. But I think it's important to have instructions spelled out in some form. So if you don't have a lot of tangible financial assets, but then you don't want to do a will or go through the cost of a will, you need something written down for directives of some sort.
Is that enforceable?
Oh, well, in New York, we always look at the intent of a testator. So yes, wills are very enforceable in New York. But in terms of funeral wishes, they don't have to be spelled out through your will. New York has an agent letter, however, which I think is a very important document for people who don't have children or children who live nearby, or for people who perhaps have feuding children, 3 kids, 4 different opinions. An agent letter allows someone to control your final disposition and carry out your final wishes. And it allows you to bypass the legal hierarchy. When you pass away, your spouse is your next of kin. If no spouse, we go right to the adult children. If no children, siblings. However, the person who you're legally most connected to might not be the best person to carry out your wishes. So I certainly think for matters of funeral planning, an agent letter is a very important document.
Okay. Any other documents that you think we all must have?
Well, again, pertaining to funerals, people come in to me and say, I'm so-and-so's power of attorney. A power of attorney ceases at the time of death, and I think that's important information for the viewers out there. If you are someone's power of attorney, it doesn't necessarily enable you to come to the funeral home and talk to me and make final wishes. The people who are legally responsible, again, are your legal next of kin, the legal hierarchy of relations that the state will recognize as people who can make funerals. But the point is, everyone's family situation is different. You need to be in control of your wishes and who will carry them out. So I encourage you to do this planning and have these uncomfortable conversations simply so that your wishes are what is in fact is carried out.
Can you briefly just describe what happens to your assets if you don't have a will?
Well, you become subject to probate and probate court. If there are no tangible beneficiaries, assets and wealth can escheat back to the state. So you can entangle yourself in a long, or entangle your loved ones in a long probate process that no one wants to go through. But for purposes of our lecture today and our talk today, we'll keep it more to the funeral planning. If you don't have wishes down, how will your children know what to do? What if you wanted to be cremated and the kids are in the room saying, well, Mom would have never wanted that. And one child saying, she told me, and the other one saying, no, Mom never said that. Who's your voice at that point?
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about how you talk about this. Is this dinner time conversation? Stay with us.
Did you know you could watch LMC TV anywhere? Yes, even there. Go to lmctv.org and scroll down the main page. Choose your channel and click Watch Now, then press play. You can watch whatever's live on our channel wherever you are. Want to watch a specific show on demand? Go to Videos, click on Category, or Shows to list by title, or by keyword in the search bar at the top right of the page. It's all a click away at lmctv.org.
So, Jen, do we call everyone over for Sunday dinner and say, let's talk about when I die?
I don't know about Sunday dinner, but you might. But what I do suggest is that you make a point to have the conversation. You acknowledge the discomfort off the bat. Look, kids, I know you don't want to talk about this, but we have to. I encourage you to do it in a setting that you're most comfortable with, be it your living room or your kitchen table. Put a pot of coffee on, have some treats out, as we always did in my Italian families growing up. But acknowledge the discomfort, put it on the table, and say, we don't want to talk about it, but we have to. And once you talk about it, as I always say, go on and live your life. It's not a time stamp. It's just being proactive and knowing that you have a plan.
What about when the kids feel that they need to raise it with the parents?
It's the same thing, just flipped. You have to come to mom or dad and say, I know you don't want to talk about this, but we have to. What would I do if something happened to you? Where will I go? How will I know what you want? I don't want to think about it, but I need to know I'm doing the right thing by you. Acknowledge the discomfort off the bat. Put it on the table, but show the need to have the conversation.
And what happens if you get resistance?
You have to kind of pose the scenario of what could happen without having the plan. There's a difference when you're sitting in the room planning with me, a difference versus of what would mom have wanted and this is what mom wants. It's a big difference. Everyone's well-intentioned. You want to do the right thing. But in the moment where you're sad and you're marred by grief and you're not thinking clearly, how will you know what the right thing is? So show the benefit of the conversation. Explain why you need to talk about it. Don't just say, we have to talk about it. Explain the why. How will I know what you want, Mom? Or from the mother's perspective, how will you know what I want to your children?
Is there a point at which you should be persuading someone of what they should want?
Not at all. People are free to choose what they want in life, and they should be able to do so in death. It's important that with any conversation in life, you put yourself in the other person's shoes and make an attempt to understand where they're coming from. We can disagree, but at least I know why you feel that way. And for children, you have to respect your parents' wishes, and you have to honor them.
And don't turn it into a battleground?
It's not the time or the place. I always say a community deserves a chance to say goodbye, and people of that generation, they had their wakes, they had those opportunities. If the kids are removed and they say, well, why do we need to do that? Everyone's dead anyway. Respect your parents' wishes. It's not the time for contentious battle. It's a time for understanding and a time for open dialogue.
Probably good advice for a lot of things with families.
Absolutely true. Death is no different than life in a lot of ways.
Jen Graziano, Cox and Graziano Funeral Home, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.